There's actually a fence that's always been chained up.
It's not a wall.
No, it's a fence. And there's a small gap. And they used to leave it pretty loose, so I would just throw my bag over the fence and then shimmy through. It's the old dump. The old Capilano dump. Hasn't been used as a dump in decades.
Oh, we get a lot of shots. Everybody come to the net. We just have to get more and more pucks to the net.
Pucks on net.
Go pucks on net.
Pucks on net.
We used to talk about in Vancouver getting pucks on net.
What were you saying about putting pucks on net?
Continue to put pucks on net.
Pucks on net!
Put pucks on net and get lucky sometimes.
Pucks on net and driving and making it a hard night on.
Live on tape from Geeta's apartment, her palatial estate on the 23rd floor. This is Pucks on Net, a Vancouver hockey podcast that doesn't talk about fantasy or fancy stats. And it looks like Geeta has something she really wants to interject.
I was just going to ask, who did you convince to say on the rig last night?
I boasted before before we started that there's a new clip in the in the intro, as Yerky21 puts it.
And I was promised a new intro for a new podcast.
Listen, I thought about making an On the Rig podcast intro. It didn't happen. I apologize. But PMAC, you were in the room last night and you got a new clip, and
there's a sad Roberto Luongo in there now.
Pucks on net.
Well, they were like, what could you guys do? Well, it starts with me. He says, what could you do better to win? Because they've lost, 7 in a row, I think, now?
Yeah, it was a must-win for them.
And he's it starts with me. But, we do need to get more pucks on net or whatever. I can't remember the
Did he
context.
wink at you after saying that?
Just for me. I think it was Louis Eriksson gave me a, pucks to the net.
And then he winked at you like, you're not pulling the wool over my eyes.
The difference between a Canadian and a Swede. English is a second language.
My name is Ryan Chapp, and I'll be your host for the evening. To my immediate left, riding shotgun, my fantasy football compadre, running buddy. She owns this joint. This is Geeta.
Hi.
And PMAC, the man on the street, in the room, getting it done. Hiking, everything we could ask for out of you.
It's been a busy 24 hours, and I'll tell you what.
What? That being said, I want to thank you for joining us wherever you got us from. Make sure you follow us on Twitter at PucksOnNetCA. Oh crap, where to go? Or PucksOnNetCa. And if you so want to support the show monetarily, you can head on over to patreon.com/PucksOnNet, where you can pledge a couple of bucks. Upwards of 5 to get...
When you played The Crow earlier, sorry to interject, but Geeta made a, Marge Simpson, disapproving mom noise. You might want to sample that as all. I just bookmark this.
Bookmark that, yeah.
If she's not here, we need that to be played multiple times.
We have a couple Patreon backers, new backers to thank. First off, this is a real name, and they pledged $5. Andreas Wrestling.
What do you mean that's a real name?
Well, that's the name they wrote down.
Okay.
And their email address has the word wrestling in it. So we're going to assume that
it might be like someone named Andreas and they have a wrestling dojo or whatever you call that facility.
We want to sponsor.
Like it could be Andrea's Wrestling.
They really should have. If Andrea should have put an exclamation mark. Whether it's Andreas Wrestling or Andrea's Wrestling, they're pledging a big $5. So
maybe it's their surname.
Fair enough.
Maybe it's from the old country and their family wrestled for a living.
Andreas, thank you, or Andreas for your $5. And here's another real name. Schoolin' Barracudas is pledging a whole whopping $1. So we want to thank Schoolin' Barracudas for $1 to help keep the lights on.
Barracudas. It's a good Portuguese name.
And I haven't thanked everybody enough that does still contribute to Patreon all these years. Mm-hmm. Now that I've got a little more freedom in my schedule, I think that the bonus episodes, the old PMAC Ryan 1-2 hit 'em up, boom town shakers will be a little more common occurrences.
Oh, nobody told me about this.
And
did you miss last week's podcast? You have a new show on Fridays.
Yeah, on the rig. A lot of Oiler talk on that show. Only Oiler talk. Oh, and I'm going to do this now right off the top to make sure you, for all those still listening at this point, go to pucksandnet.ca and join our email newsletter. Or subscribe to our email newsletter. It comes out once a week on Fridays. And as the weeks have progressed, I have more and more fun writing them. And it's just a little rundown of everything that we put out each week. And a little how's your mother on the Pucks on Net Fantasy Hockey League. So if you're in the league, please go and sign up for it. You can go to pucksnet.ca and it'll have the little annoying pop-up that'll send, you'll put your email in for the MailChimp. No spam, once a week, pucksnet.ca. Go do that.
And my regular suggestion for folks is go and subscribe and make Ryan's day and then just mark it to go straight to your spam folder.
How many people are subscribing?
A fair bit, but not I want more.
Yeah.
I want
upwards of 7 people, Geeta.
Okay, we're like
3 of them are in the
a little more than that.
There's like 6. There's like 60 people.
That's pretty impressive.
But I want. It's real. It's a lot.
We have a lot more listeners than that. So
yeah. So
come on.
Why are you guys not subscribing?
Yeah. Listen.
What have we turned into?
Shills.
Do what you want. Don't listen to these two.
You know what?
I don't read the emails.
Oh, I'm gonna bring Dave in right away because it's 10 p.m. over there.
Sure.
Dave, nation's capital, Ottawa. Is that you?
That is me. I am here, and I can see you.
Oh,
too.
Finally, Dave's got the webcam on. You can all lean over.
Yeah.
You're supposed to put tape over those boys.
Yeah.
That's how they get you, Polly.
Yeah.
The only one you're going to see is Ryan.
Yeah. Hey.
That's true. I see Ryan, and Ryan can see me, and he can see my cat that's asleep next to me.
Oh yeah, I got a cat. I got a sleeping cat right there.
That's right. I haven't really figured out how this phone works because it doesn't have any buttons.
Oh yeah, you got an X?
I got an XR.
Oh,
I got the fragile one.
Yeah, that thing you have a piece of porcelain and/or glass in your hand, and that thing is gonna. You drop that on the concrete, she's just gonna shatter.
It's a good thing the rest of us have bricks.
That's true. Yeah. Doesn't Geeta have your old phone, Ryan? Isn't that the case?
Yeah, that was back during the old unemployment summer window. I was looking to make a real quick couple of bucks.
Now he just keeps tabs on my texts.
So even if you haven't read it, it's just marked as read from somewhere in the West End.
Where's this? Who's reading these? That's a glitch with the phone. Hey, Dave, the Edmonton Oilers, we talked about them last week a fair bit. Just ragging them, just slagging them. And they keep giving us more material to work with. So this week, or was today, Ryan Rashad tweeted, I believe he's the TSN Oilers guy, that they are all in. Elliot Friedman also said they are all in to make the playoffs. They're going to do whatever they can to make the playoffs this year. And by that, they mean Peter Chiarelli wants a job.
Wait, how far back are they in? They have to leapfrog Arizona.
They're all in a cluster fork of like 3 or 4 points out of the playoffs.
Okay. It's the first 4 rows of any NASCAR race. Everyone's all clumped together, stumbling, bumbling, running cars into each other. It's just terrible. But yeah, they are like the United States presidential version of an NHL team. Just every week, it's more and more. They give us more material. Now they come out and say that they're going to pull out all the stops and they're going to trade away potentially a first-round pick from the horse's mouth himself, Peter Donald Trump Chiarelli, saying that they're going to trade a first-round pick to get a top 6 forward into their lineup.
To get a poor man's Taylor Hall.
I was just going to ask. I'm like, so what they did with Taylor Hall?
Yeah, and he's on the dollar for something.
Well, that's a reverse haul because I think Adam Larson's on their bottom pairing, and I don't think New Jersey's going to take him back. So,
come on,
yeah,
what do you got to do to take him back? Come on, boys.
But yeah, it's Jordan Eberle even would look pretty good in an Oilers uniform right now, wouldn't he?
No, he's contributing well to a playoff-bound hockey team over on Long Island.
I just feel like it's in the best interest of not just Connor McDavid, but pretty much the rest of us who enjoy hockey and enjoy watching Connor McDavid, for him to be traded, for him to get out of town, because I want to watch the kid play in May and June. I'm sick of his season, and in April we're playing in Switzerland at the World Junior whatever championship thing. The Ryan Smith Invitational. I don't want to see him do that anymore.
He's got the same career trajectory.
He does.
No, he needs to beat Wayne. He needs to go to LA. He needs to promise Leon he wouldn't do this.
What they need is for him to have a line mate that's not Zach Cassian or
Hey, Cassian had at least 2 goals the last time I checked tonight.
Hang on. Do you really want him dispatched to LA? What would their interim coach situation?
Oh, if Willie, that would be the ultimate test if Willie could ruin Connor McDavid.
Connor McDavid playing 13 minutes a night in Los Angeles.
I don't know. I see him sassing nerdy dad Randy Carlisle down in Anaheim. I'd like to see that. I'd like to see Connor walking down Main Street, USA in Disneyland.
If Edmonton,
I'd like to see that.
If Edmonton trades him to one of those 2 teams, though, what are you gonna? You're gonna get back a package of Corey Perry or Anze Kopitar and
Nick
a bunch of
Ritchie.
washed up vet like that. I mean, that would be very Edmonton to do it.
Yeah, it
but it would be
Or maybe-
horrible. There's nothing there.
Maybe the movie rights to his life since it's La La Land. You know, you can just trade him the rights.
Mighty Ducks
Now-
4 starring Connor McDavid. It's gonna be big. He still looks like he could be playing in the World Juniors or whatever they did in the second movie.
Justin Bieber is Connor McDavid in the Mel Gibson produced and Kurt Russell produced joint venture Escape from Edmonton.
That would be a miracle.
And the lead love interest, of course, would be Alicia Cuthbert.
Now to cut back to serious matters at hand, which is the Edmonton Oilers, this really is becoming on the rig, by the way.
Next week, there will be a Nickelback intro, mark my words.
Oh, there's gotta be. We've been talking about this team pretty much every other week on this show for 5-6 years now, like the unsolved mysteries of the Edmonton Oilers. And the mystery has been solved for me, and I've talked about this before, that you can't fire owners, and it's a real crime and fucking shame, because it starts at the top, and it's Daryl Katz. If Daryl Katz does not fire Peter Chiarelli for making a save my job trade, then he's a goddamn idiot, because you cannot allow somebody to sacrifice assets to save their own skin. You have to cut the head off of the snake, and the head of the snake is his management, and that's Peter Chiarelli. You got to fire Chiarelli, you got to eat your lima beans and finish out of the playoffs again, maybe get a lottery pick, and then next year you reboot with a general manager by the name of Mike Gillis.
Well, I mean, that does sound pretty good. Even Paul,
Paul's
got something in his eye.
I don't think it's the worst. It'll be interesting, and I don't like what Chiarelli's been doing, but I just keep thinking of like what's going on in Calgary with Treliving, and last year we were saying horrible things about him, and even when that deal in the summer was made with Carolina, that's turned out to be amazing for Calgary. 2 all-star, super awesome Foxy Hot players out on the ice.
Foxy Hot.
I was trying to make a Harry Potter musical reference, but no one will get that except
but
the 2
Paulie,
listeners.
they're regressing under Chiarelli. Like, they made the playoffs. They looked like things were moving in the right direction, and then he did nothing with it. He's got Connor McDavid in the lineup every single night, and he's just throwing gutter balls. It's ridiculous.
The point I was trying to get to was like, with Edmonton, who knows? Like, he could go into the summer and knock one out of the park, being lucky, whether you think he's got skill or not.
When is he
did
not?
build a Stanley Cup winner once before.
He didn't build that team. He didn't build that team. He inherited that team from another general manager.
The point I'm trying to make is just like, I don't know if anything's going to make a difference in Edmonton.
No, but they're going to...
I think that's the point.
But he's going to trade... They're now going to trade defense or goaltending, which they're already thin on, for goal scoring. So they're going to trade a whole bunch, a king's ransom for Phil Kessel down in Pittsburgh, who is always on the chopping block, because they're just like, we need easy goals right now, so we'll get Phil Kessel.
Kessel for Talbot, and Talbot's going to lead Pittsburgh to a Stanley Cup final.
You know what? I am liking this trade for
Phil Kessel would be like the news story, not to make more comparisons to Trump and Chiarelli, but that would be like the espionage sleeper cell story that's going around right now. Phil Kessel in an Oilers jersey is the only way that this situation could get weirder than it already is.
If Chiarelli traded him once, he can trade him again.
And he'd become best friends with Brandon Manning, we all know. Like, it'd just be a stepbrothers situation. And Connor would be like, I can't believe these 2 annoying. Anyway.
I would say that Dallas is probably a good trade partner, but I think everybody there has no trade clause.
Well, Cogliano got traded today for, who was that? Oh, Devon Shore, which that's just their retool on the fly. And they don't want to fire Rockin' Randy Carlisle because they're too loyal, because he did too good of a job 11 years ago.
They already fired him once. There's probably some special clause in his contract.
They got to pay him twice as much.
He's like the Candyman. If you say his name 3 times, he keeps coming back.
Yeah,
Because they'll fire him and then they'll get nostalgic and then they'll bring him back again. Because it was their big anniversary season.
Yeah.
These teams.
So when's the next big anniversary season? Sorry, Geeta.
Oh, it's okay. I was just gonna say these teams seem comfortable with the coaches that they've had before. They keep recycling.
I just read Sean Avery's book and he talked about when Mark,
so good.
Oh, real good. And he talks about Mark Crawford coming into Dallas.
Right.
And it's like, this is a guy that won one Stanley Cup, I think it was at the time.
1996?
Yeah, 15 years before.
Right. And then they handed him an Olympic team.
Yeah, and he did nothing with that. He won one playoff series in Vancouver, and he's like, this is a guy that's riding on his coattails from 15 years ago and never really evolved. And he would, he was, and like Sean Avery's like, that's one of the few men I've come across that I'm actually terrified of because he had that old school coaching and never evolved. And I just keep thinking that there's all these current coaches like Randy Carlyle who did one thing 11 years ago and still gets a job riding on those coattails when he hasn't evolved. And I don't think Randy Carlyle is the type of guy that's going to evolve at all.
You know who never got a second shot at it? Like he was a 1 and out and they never ever considered him for a job again in the NHL is Dallas Eakins.
Yeah, and we talked.
He never got another chance, and that team was dog shit. Like I'd like to see him get one more shot.
Yeah, and he was somebody like Travis Green that was on the trajectory of smart, up and coming AHL coach, and then he just went to the unsolved mysteries tar pits that is northern Alberta.
Well,
he had Ben Scrivens. You
can't go into Edmonton and then change out the media donuts and pizza for celery sticks and carrots and expect to get good messaging in the media. You want to talk about fake news, you're going to get up in the fake news when you switch the treats out.
It's hard to get good produce in a frozen tundra like Edmonton, so I'm sure those veggies were second rate too, Paulie?
Oh yeah, no, you can freeze some donuts. Tim Horton's been doing that for 3 decades now.
Yeah. Hey, you can get a decent donut anywhere in Canada, but you can't get a good piece of celery.
That celery is
Vancouver.
Jeez, Louise.
Dave, do you still have a couple more minutes?
Oh yeah, I got time.
Okay, I would like to. Because you
guys do sound fantastic, by the way, on the new device.
That's great.
This is some top quality Steve Jobs shit here.
And he sounds pretty good too.
Yeah, you sound great.
We saw. I think Paul. We talked about this on the Patreon show when I asked you what do you want to see from the Canucks in the Florida Panthers game when Mike Matheson returns, and whether we wanted bloodshed or not, we wanted a response, and we got it, and.
He didn't bite.
He looked like a bit of a wimp, and a candy ass. It's 2019. I'm gonna choose my words carefully. He looked like a real candy ass.
He looked 10-ply, bud. He was soft.
He was soft.
Very soft.
In fact, even Sportsnet took a shot at him.
They trolled him in the highlights pack where they not only showed his worst plus-minus in the league, but they showed all the times the Canucks wanted to fight him. It started with Bo Horvat. Right, he came right on a line change wanting to fight him. Virtanen wanted him. Roussel wanted to murder him.
Goody wanted him too.
Yeah, and regardless of what happened, it's the response I wanted to see. And I mean, I'll hear.
They were on him. They were on him all night though. Like I didn't see what was happening on the broadcast, so I tweeted out just about. When their Beagle got scrummed, like 3 guys jumped on him, and behind the play, Matheson was trying to stay out of all that. Matheson isn't that type of guy typically, so I can understand why he doesn't want to get the crap kicked out of him and stuff. But yeah, Bo Horvat did a flyby when that Beagle scrum was going on, and the refs weren't looking, and did a full out karate axe. Knocked his stick out of his hands and just kept moving to the bench like nothing had happened. And Matheson threw his arms up in the air like, "Come on!"
Oh, it was just a
body slam. They were doing little things like that all night that I was watching for, where they were just giving him a bad time.
I just appreciated that the game was on at 4:00 in the afternoon local time, so I could watch it here without drinking a bunch of coffee. And you know what? It was a great team effort. It was the opposite of a lot of things that we complain about with these kind of responses. They actually did respond, and looking back on it, I think it's the first time they've gone home and had a game like this. Mm-hmm. And maybe the fans being on you keeps you a little more honest, and you have to make a response, otherwise the live crowd will be all over you. But again, it's like I was getting an argument on social media with some listeners about who the captain of the team should be, and I think that's just another nail in the coffin for anybody but Bo.
Yeah, Bo took it all. We can all choose who we can make our picks.
Who was it? Someone was pitching the idea of Pettersson. I liked
And
your
I
argument.
shot that down harder than a hot girl on prom date with the captain of the chess club. No way.
What is it? Saved by the Bell, the new class? I love, and what I look for in my rough and tumble, good Canadian boy captain, Bo Horvat has shown it all this year. And if I want to be the captain of the team, I don't care how, if you're going to stand up for your superstar any way possible, you got to stand up for him, and he did. So I really like and respect that, and that's just who I think should be the captain, and I think Dave agrees.
Yeah, he's got my vote hard. Nobody else comes close.
But anyway, but captaincy aside, because we're not making that decision, that's a team decision. I just like that everything, all the generic and tangible terms that they say with these players, the pushback, being hard to play against, sandpaper,
being heavy. That's the new term for 2018, 2019 is heavy.
Be heavy. You know what? Don't stand for it. If somebody's going to come into your home and rub their muddy boots all over your couch and tell you, you check them. You give them some help.
I thought we were talking about Heavy Eric. I missed that.
God rest his soul.
Oh, is he dead?
Yeah, he died a couple years ago, I think. Or maybe not. I keep saying that.
Was that an internet rumor and you've just been... I can't remember.
Well, yeah,
he feels dead. He feels pretty dead.
But
hard living 15 years ago, making up all those Bertuzzi songs.
Yeah, they weren't calling him size 31 Eric. He was Heavy Eric.
For a reason.
Only so many things rhyme with Bertuzzi, Paul.
Leonarduzzi.
Watusi.
Has a heart attack just from the stress.
Of trying to come up with more rhymes to come out.
It's a bit of a doozy.
Oh, where were you 10 years ago when he did that one, Geeta?
Geeta could have got him another 5 years on this planet with that one.
Yeah. So it was a great game. Louis Eriksson scored a goal. Ben Hutton scored a goal. Granlund, all these guys scored a goal. It was kind of what they needed, and there's Pettersson still is not. He might join Friday, or he might join the weekend game, but there's
really no rush on this thing. Like, to be the voice of reason, like, I miss him like as much as anybody, but really, there's no reason to rush it back. Like, let that thing heal. It's a knee sprain. You don't want to make it worse. Just like let that tendon get nice and stretchy. You don't want him to turn into PMAC. Can't get to the podcast on time.
Hey, he had 11.
Because he's limping around on his one knee.
Out in the woods.
He was out in the woods today.
Paulie, did you get that truffle business going? You're looking for truffles in the woods?
Got nothing today, Dave. Nothing.
I thought you were a fun guy. That's too bad.
Yeah, those dad jokes are just coming left and right from this guy now.
You know what, Dave? We'll keep you
pretty naturally these days, actually. So,
I'll keep you around for one more segment.
Okay.
Or one more talking point and let you go, because I'm curious to hear what everybody has to say about it. A Columbus Blue Jacket legend forced to retire probably 3 years early, I would say. Well, depending on what we don't know.
Sergei Bobrovsky's retiring?
That's him. Rick Nash, he's finishing the game.
He hasn't made much of a difference, though, in a couple of years.
He was surprisingly consistent when he got to New York.
Yeah.
And he was fine on a really bad team in Columbus. Just to fire off his stats, 1,060 games played, 437 goals, 368 assists, 805 points. He won the Rocket Richard Trophy in 03-04. 40 times, or 3 times he scored 40 or more goals, and he went to the Stanley Cup Finals with AV's Rangers in 2014.
You know who his numbers are comparable to?
Who?
Because I went looking to see whether or not he was Hall of Fame caliber or not. His numbers are kind of comparable to that of Pavel Bure.
No.
I went through a list of goal scorers who made the Hall of Fame that scored 400 goals.
Geeta, you skipped the first stat on the line on the far left-hand corner. Games played.
Yeah,
Pavel Bure didn't get to 1,000 games.
But
that's right. His points per game is way higher, and he also scored 60 goals twice.
That's what Rick Nash didn't do. Rick Nash has won something that Pavel Bure didn't.
Was that
What's
trophy around when Pavel Bure was playing?
Bure
Yes,
won the
and he did
Richard.
win it.
He won
won
the
it.
first one.
Oh, okay.
Or the second, whatever.
Rick Nash was a very good hockey player.
Rick Nash sucks.
He was never. He was like Eric Lindros light. He was never the game changer.
I
Also Hall of Famer.
Dave?
Sorry to interrupt.
Sorry.
I looked it up too. You know who in a similar career of games played and you know who had more points than Rick Nash?
Who?
Cliff Ronning had more points than Rick Nash.
Cliff Ronning also played in a different era, so we'll give him spot him a couple there.
Nevertheless, Paulie, that doesn't look good when you make that comparison.
He's comparable to a lot of Canucks greats.
Both Courtnall brothers. Big Surge. He's okay.
He was a very okay hockey player.
Yeah.
There was all that hype around him signing in
Here's
New York.
the thing. Would these guys be greater if they got drafted to better teams?
Well, yeah.
If and buts were fruit and nuts, every day be fucking Christmas. So
Yeah.
who knows?
I don't think he's Hall of Fame worthy.
Oh, I'm not trying to get him in.
He had a very good career, but he was never as outstanding as I thought he should have been.
Yeah, but no one's going to be outstanding on an expansion team.
Or
He was a Panago pizza right winger. He's okay. He's not bad.
He's fine.
You don't get that excited to see him. You'd never pay to see him, but you'd eat the pizza.
How many times did you pay to see Rick Nash play hockey,
I
Geeta?
saw a lot of Columbus Blue Jackets games.
Geeta's a disciple of Nash.
He's pretty handsome.
PMAC, any thoughts on Rick Nash?
I mean, he probably is a bit of a victim of circumstance. I could see him having more success on a deep team.
Yeah.
But he's not the only guy that's had that problem, and yeah, it is what it is.
You know, the current problem we're seeing right now.
With Connor McDavid?
Mm-hmm.
Hey, that guy's won a lot of World Hockey Championships. I think Rick Nash won that like 3 fucking times.
Yeah, he's got that Ryan Smith approach to the
But,
game.
like,
And a couple
like,
of gold
to
medals at
play-
the Olympics, too.
To play devil's advocate and to agree with PMAC for once, you know, a victim of circumstance for sure, in the way that Rick Nash, if you look at his career, he never really got to play with anybody in their prime who was a superstar. Like, he never got paired up with anybody like other players did. Like, he never got the chance to play off somebody who could match his level of skill. And it would have been interesting to see if he could have had 5 or 6 years on a line with another superstar player.
Yeah, because
what he could have done.
Well, the Rangers were a real win by committee team by AV, and then they had, St. Louis, and I think Brad Richards was there too.
But those guys were way past their prime by the time that came about. So it would have been interesting to see, like, if he had played a Taves to a Kane or something of that nature, or even like a Marchand to a Bergeron. You look at these teams that have won cups, like even like in LA, like, Jeff Carter had players to play with.
Yeah.
Because he did have to do a lot of that himself. But that being said, like, there's nothing wrong with having an 800 point and 400 and something goal career, but we can't just hand out Hall of Fame, nominations like willy-nilly. Sorry, Geeta. Jason Spezza has comparable numbers to Rick Nash, and he ain't fucking getting in either.
I think you should go to bed now.
I'm being sent to my room for bad behavior. Okay, fair enough.
I'm kind of okay with this direction because everyone's been talking about retired numbers with Luongo flying through this week, and I'm
yes,
still.
And I wanted to talk about that too. Paulie, go. I want to hear Paulie's take.
The older I get, the more I'm like, I don't think the Canucks should have any retired numbers right now.
Bring him out. Bring
like
him out.
The longer I'm around, like it makes me sick to think that they could have as many numbers as they'll have retired soon, because 22 and 33 are definitely going up.
Yeah.
And those should go, but Naslund had no business, and quite frankly, even though I love him, Bure didn't play long enough.
Yeah, and the
all
Bure,
of those guys, it's more about the emotions tied to it, and you can't do like retired numbers. And I'm even moving into the like teams should just honor numbers, and I know that's not popular.
But isn't that what they're doing with their ring of honor?
Toronto used to hang the numbers in the rafters, but not actually take them out of service. And the more I see like teams littered with jersey numbers like 60s, 70s, 80s, the more I'm like, honor the numbers, but like
I
don't know.
I just hate.
We have a ring of honor just for this purpose, and they're not using it. They're giving it to nobodies.
Just put them up. Yeah, they haven't put somebody in that ring of honor for a long time.
I think Matthias Olin was the last one to go. He's very lonely.
Yeah, I think you are right. I hate the idea that you look at teams with history with cups and
it should be legends, like
legends.
Not even all Hall of Famers should wind up in the rafters of arenas for retired numbers, just because.
But the Canucks
you don't need to take numbers out of circulation.
I get the Canucks.
It should make you cry. If you're a diehard fan, and it doesn't, like, the thought of that night and getting their number retired doesn't make you a little choked up or feel anything on an emotional level, then you shouldn't have them go. And Naslund didn't do that for most of the fan base. I don't speak for them, but I'm assuming it didn't.
No,
didn't for me.
There's a lot of people making the argument now that, like, Luongo should have his number retired, and then people are making huge jumps to lesser players than, because you can't let fans do it because emotions. People get emotional about, an Alex Burrows type of guy.
Well, you better retire
He's definitely
him,
not
too.
going to the rafters, but, like,
Gino,
some
even.
people will feel like they should. You got to take that out. You got to be like, to make it to the rafters, you should be a Maurice Richard, Mario Lemieux,
Paul.
legendary.
You need to have
elite
4 good years in Vancouver, and you get your name retired. Your number
You know what
retired.
it feels like? It's the team is trying to play catch up to actual teams that have history.
Except they're lapping a bunch of these other teams already, at this rate.
It's the way that Nashville had a banner night every night to start the season.
Yeah, that's the vibe I get.
Yeah.
It's like, we don't have that good a playoff history, but hey, look at the storied Joe Louis Arena looking around.
President's Trophy and Western Conference champions, even though by default, if you have the President's Trophy, you've won both conferences in the regular season.
We'll leave it on that.
Sorry.
Dave, I liked the extended version this week, so thank you for staying up for us, and we'll talk to you next week.
No problem. I'm gonna go watch some Westworld and have some nightmares.
Great. Say goodbye to Dave, everybody.
Good night.
Enjoy Westworld. I'm all caught up. It's a gooder.
Listeners, now please say goodnight to Dave, who is 3 hours ahead of when you're listening. Okay, there we go. All right. Good night, Dave.
Do you have like a recording of listeners saying goodnight?
No, he's leaving that blank. So they're in their car driving to work and they can be like, good night, Dave.
If you shithead listeners did not say goodnight to Dave, who's 3 hours ahead of you.
In the future. So he knows where Connor McDavid is going.
He knows that McDavid went to Anaheim for Ryan Kessler and a second.
They wanted forwards.
They need goals. Well, that was a good little. That was a fun little first half of the show there, guys. We're humming along.
I held off on commenting on the captain thing on both Twitter and live because I knew it would set Dave off. So
I don't think Pettersson
I can talk about it and he'll be like,
well, I'm in the Horvat camp.
I don't want to make any decisions because it's all about the guys in the room. We don't see how these guys are interacting and who's the leader and who's giving the pep talks and stuff. But to the Pettersson side of the argument that people are ignoring for the most part is I keep hearing stories from guys like Jacob Markstrom that say after X game, Elias Pettersson got up and gave a speech and we were all, practically writing notes about it.
Bless him, but that guy's hurt all the time.
Pettersson?
Yeah. That guy can't make the lineup. He's injury prone.
I don't even know what to say there. But it's shocking to me if a 20-year-old is standing up and giving post-game speeches.
He's giving Bo a run for his money, is what you're saying?
Well, and veterans are taking notes and not being like rolling their eyes and telling him to shut up.
Paul, I think I know what you know, and that Bo was like, "Hey, video games, they're for nerds and squares," and then Pettersson said, "Oh yeah," throws his PS4 on the ground. It's like, what are you gonna do about it? And Bo backed down. He Mike Matheson to the video game.
It is such a stupid thing that we're basing things off this video game thing, but it did put a little thing in the back of my brain like, how many players might not like Bo? Is he going Dudley Do-Right here? Is he the type of player that from the outside looking in, you go hard-nosed, says the right things most of the time, goes after players that hit his teammates, and it looks good, but it really comes down to who do the guys in the room feel are the leaders, and you don't want the narc
Great.
as your captain.
It's going to be another 5 years before they award the C because they're like, you're 18. You got to wait till you're...
Yeah, no, they might. If it might be Pettersson, they might wait another year easily. But people argue, yeah, he's a Swede. He's like Naslund and Henrik Sedin.
Oh,
that
no.
the fire that you want. I've already seen more fire out of Elias Pettersson just shouting and barking at players as a 20-year-old than you saw out of either Naslund or Henrik Sedin until they were in their 30s.
Way to break Bo's heart.
So I'm just saying there are options out there.
Naslund was so timid, and he was just going. That's my impression of Marcus
And
Naslund.
anyone was going to be a great captain after Messier.
Exactly. It's like, well, I guess I'll do it. How I can't fuck it up that much.
That was not the point I was trying to make, but I'm just saying any arguments that people bring up against why Pettersson shouldn't fall flat to me. And I'm not saying he should be the guy.
No.
It should be an election via democracy in the room.
And I'll agree with
it very
that.
well could be Bo, but I'm just saying I keep hearing things about Pettersson that make me go, he might be more of a, like, it wouldn't just be handing your C to the superstar player that I've criticized in the past with
Gabriel
especially
Landeskog.
youngsters. You know,
But again, we're like 4 months into this guy's career.
so I'm just saying there's probably more to the conversation than the fans from the outside just see Bo, and he's 5 years into his career now. So
Yeah.
they've had more time to have the idea grow on them where, you know, even a Besser type of guy, you keep hearing stuff about Besser speaking up for teammates and going out and taking kids to prom that need a friend, and you know, he's
take me to prom.
He's just a good dude. I'm saying
You got to stop going to prom, Ryan.
I'm going there to go with Brock so we can hang out.
It's good to see that there are options for the team and the players can make their choice, and I would probably be down with anyone unless, you know, MDZ is coming out with the C.
MTC.
Coming out with the C. That's his new single.
Is that, yeah.
He had coming out with the C. He had a passive aggressive Instagram post on the off day
Because he's not playing.
Yeah, he was out with it was Biega and I think Mott or Schaller.
No, him and the Schaller. It's the healthy scratches
black-
that
yeah.
become a gang, I've heard.
Yeah, and they basically.
The Canucks black cases.
I gotta bring this up.
They the game last night
Yeah.
left together as I was walking down the hallway to get set up to get my clips and stuff. The three of them came out in their nice jackets and stuff.
Right.
And I locked eyes with MDZ for a little bit.
Yeah.
I just, you know, he looks like a man lost. This hasn't happened to him before, at least not in a while.
They were down at Barnett Marine Park, North Burnaby.
Okay.
Forgotten gem of Metro Vancouver.
Mm-hmm.
People, you got to go down there.
I do.
They're
I
all
pass
out-
it on my way back from Port Moody.
Mm-hmm.
They're out on the swings, pushing each other, laughing it up, having the time of their lives.
Just yucking it up. The caption is Culture Brothers. Hashtag Shalatov. Hashtag the dog. Hashtag developmental session. So I think these guys are kind of forming a bond out of a shitty situation where they're not playing.
Right. And they're doing some soul searching.
So, I mean, that's fine, but there's definitely, it looks like you don't want to say it's a rift, but like they're, maybe.
You think they're pouting?
I don't think they're pouting. I
don't think Biega is pouting. He's doing exactly what he wants to do, I think, with his career. He didn't expect to be an NHLer.
God bless him. But Del Zotto, I think he's
used
feels,
to being a NHLer.
Yeah, a nice fringe NHLer.
And you see, a couple of the things Pouliot's done in the last couple of weeks, and you go, why doesn't Michael Del Zotto, especially if they're trying to shop him as a depth defenseman to other teams in a trade,
well,
he probably deserves to slot him for Pouliot once in a while.
We remember what
he's made mistakes too.
what Del Zotto looked like earlier in the year.
It's not that I'm
not
saying
very good. So it's like when you sell a car on Craigslist, running when parked. It's got to go off the lawn today. It was running when I parked it.
Yeah. Anyway,
Del
I'm not
Zotto-
pushing for Del Zotto to get back in the lineup. Don't tweet. Don't at me.
McClellan
saying,
Paul. It's backwards, folks.
They might want to try and put him out in very specific situations where he's less likely to fail.
Yes.
For very limited minutes. And then send him to whoever will give you anything for him.
That's Edmonton.
They love them some depth defensemen.
Maybe he could play up front. This guy, he's great.
What else do we got happening this week? Oh, a couple stats on how good the Flames are. They're the first team to have 5 players each with 40-plus points in the first 45 games of the season.
Yay.
Since the 95-96 Pittsburgh Penguins, which they scored a lot of goals. That's why Ron Francis is like 3rd or 4th.
Okay.
He's sitting, he might be 5th in all-time points or whatever now because Jágr let Frog pass a few of them. I think he was 4th for quite a while.
Yeah, so he should be
most
5th.
underrated player maybe in NHL history, Ronnie Francis.
It's like, I love when you go look at the standings and it's or the stats and there's your usual suspects. Then you're like, what the hell's Ron Francis doing here? Who invited Ron Francis?
He played for some good teams, but I mean his early days for Hartford, he was the show. Mm-hmm. And then he wound up being the Geno Malkin for a long time.
You want to talk about expensive depth scoring in the offseason. We've harped on this a lot, but James Neal was brought in just to score goals. And he's making over $5.5 million a year.
5.75, I think.
Yeah, and he's got 4 goals and 5 assists, and he's 14th in team scoring.
That makes Louis Eriksson's deal start to look a little better.
And I just cannot believe how positively that team has responded to that Carolina Hurricanes trade.
Yeah, I mean, sticking with Neal for a second, I haven't watched a ton of Flames. I've watched some Flames games, but I've heard media and commentary folks say, you aren't even noticing this guy doing the little things. What are they calling Louis Eriksson these days?
Little
Louis.
Things
Eriksson. You're not even getting that stuff out of Neal. The thing with Neal, though, is he's the type of player I could totally see if he has a few good games, if he clicks with a couple of players, if he has to slot in, if he has to slot into the top 6. That's the thing now. If you trade him, you're going to trade him at a loss, and you're going to swallow some of his salary, and he'll light it up for Vegas or wherever he winds up. But yeah, he's the type of guy, even in the playoffs, he has to fill in for somebody because somebody gets smashed into the glass.
Yeah.
One of these smaller, young forwards for Calgary. I hope it doesn't happen. But he slots into the top 6. All of a sudden, he's the type of guy that, he got a hat trick. James Neal got 6 goals in 3 games, won the series for it. He's the type of guy, at least if he's lurking in the bottom 6, come playoff time on a good team, he might be your surprise Justin Williams, Mr. Clutch type of guy. He's got the experience. He's definitely still got the ability in there. There's just something confidence-wise that's not clicking right now.
He can stay healthy because he went to the Stanley Cup final back-to-back years. He's got a real Marian Hossa kind of vibe to him.
Teams should get on that.
Yeah, but I mean, if you're Calgary, I do not recall a consistent stretch where he's played top line or top 6. So believe it or not, you might not know this, guys, but you will get hurt in the playoffs. There will be injuries. So like PMAC was saying, it wasn't tall tales and far-fetched, gumdrop dreams. James Neal could slot into a top. We've had a lot of random phrases on this podcast so far, and it's warmed my heart. I didn't think we'd have last week was a good show. I didn't know what we would expect this week, but we're having a lot of fun. Yeah. Just like the Calgary Flames.
I don't know. Who's not having fun? I don't mean to change the topic if you got a point. I'd like to know what's happening in Columbus, going back there.
Well, again, as I'm reading Sean Avery's book, which about the second half of the book is how much the man hates John Tortorella.
Oh.
And it's, you know what? This is one man's...
Do you still have this book, or did you leave it on a bus?
I have purchased the book.
Can I borrow it?
I don't lend out books.
Oh, really?
Well, actually, who's the last person that asked me for a book? I don't think they're listening to the podcast.
Is it Dave?
No, but Dave, I explained on the podcast, Dave's the reason I don't lend out books.
I can buy it. It's fine.
He lost your book in his fish tank.
Yeah. Here it is.
I took your Motley Crue book, but I kept it.
Yeah, and I took it back.
Yeah.
I will bring Sean Avery's book with me for next week's show.
Okay.
Because now I've just tricked you into having to do the podcast next week. That's how we do for those listening at home, I have to come up with clever ways to trick everybody in. You got to do it. I lent you that $4.
When was the last time you had to do, we just assume it's in my schedule.
I love that. I love when we just assume that.
I like that he has to trick us.
Or that he thinks he has to trick us.
I've wasted so much money tricking you guys over the years.
We should be trying to get more. I don't feel like we've gotten a whole lot out of this. Here's my cut of the Patreon money, Ryan.
Ooh, the Patreon money's in Jim's house and Fred's house.
Offshore account.
In the Caymans with the Prime Minister. He talks about how, well, he has a lot of very negative things to say about John Tortorella, based on how if he doesn't see you as a player, that it's going to contribute to him winning games,
right?
Doesn't give a shit about you.
Yep.
And those are isolated incidents to Sean Avery or to Derek Bugard, but you just kind of get the sense of what type of guy Torts is. And from what I can gather, angry maniac. Not as crazy as Mark Crawford, but just pure rage a haul. And I just think that a couple players don't really like what he sells anymore, and he's kind of wore out his welcome in Columbus. And maybe when he came to the Blue Jackets, he had his new evolved temperament.
Right.
But ever since he stopped wearing suits and he started wearing with his weird sweaters his zip-ups, maybe he's gotten back to his old ways.
That's like the fastest way out of the league.
By not following the dress code?
By wearing sweaters.
The interesting...
Remember, what's his face in New Jersey used to do that? Like Robbie Fatorik? That guy never worked again.
Geeta, you're bringing up a great point here.
When he got to Columbus, there were a lot of kids there that were still pretty young, a lot of college players.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like he could almost get in even if he was like hard-nosed, if he didn't know anyone. I mean, it doesn't take him long. Apparently, David Booth got under his skin within the first couple weeks. But,
weird guy. They have a lot. I imagine they have a lot of the same values.
Maybe. I don't know what David Booth's stance on dogs is. He doesn't have a good track record with animals.
You don't think he uses a hunting dog?
I don't want to speculate on what David Booth does with any animals. John Tortorella. Sorry. Geeta does not look happy with my commentary.
Yeah, that's why she's laughing in a ball on the couch.
He got in there. You get kids that are 19, 20, 21, whatever. They're treating it like they've joined the army.
Yes.
They say, you say jump, they say how high.
That's kind of like Babcock too, is like that.
Allegedly, but maybe not as bad. But yeah, I get the feeling you get to a point where that wears off and the players start going, oh, he does do some weird stuff. Oh, he is treating, Bill over here like garbage, even though he doesn't deserve that. Or Bob in this case.
Goalie Bob.
But Bobrovsky, it sounds like, is already checked out. He's already ready to play somewhere else next year. Yeah. And he knows the rumor is he'll get traded to a contender. I mean, Columbus is still a good team, but there's trade rumors out there. And there's probably more to it than that, but he may have checked out, and whether there was a history with Tortorella or Tortorella just noticed recent checking out to a certain extent.
Mm-hmm.
And he's good enough that he probably can check out, and he's still putting up good numbers or decent performances. But if Tortorella feels like you're not giving 175%, then, brother, you're in trouble.
Yeah, and it sounds like that's what's happening with Goalie Bob, because if you haven't heard, basically he was suspended by the leadership core of the team. So your Nick Foligno's, and I don't know who else is the assistant captains there, but
Rick Nash.
But they took him aside before they boarded the plane, and they read him the riot act.
Okay.
So I don't know what kind of influence Torts has.
But we don't know what Bobrovsky did.
Yeah, it comes down to he got pulled. They left him in for a lot of goals. He got shelled.
Right.
And he said, I'm fucking done with this. He went into the room.
Yeah.
And he took a shower. He put a suit on. He didn't come back onto the bench.
Okay.
Which is a pretty crappy thing to do, regardless of who your coach is. When it's an all for one, we're all a team.
Sure.
You don't leave your team out there without a backup goalie, because if what's his name?
Did he leave the building?
He didn't come back on the bench.
Yeah.
Unless you're Roberto Luongo, who heads out, goes to the hospital, puts a suit on, comes back to the arena.
I can go.
The goalie coach is ready to get out because both goalies are hurt, and he does a wrestling throw on his pads in 5 minutes and then streak out.
But if their backup goalie, Caprasao, I think his name is, I always forget.
Caprasao?
If he got hurt, then
Yeah.
that puts the Jackets in a pretty shitty situation.
Sure.
And
put Seth Jones between the pipes? He'd probably be pretty good.
He'd be
Let's
pretty
be honest.
good.
He's
He's
a
real
pretty
good.
solid kid.
Real good kid. So they took him aside and they said that's BS. And there also might have been there's rumors of a very heated argument with Torts, which when there's smoke, there's fire. And if you
Right.
read Sean Avery's book, I believe it.
It's not even a where there's smoke. It's like he had an argument with Torts. Yeah, well, so did everybody else on the team probably
Exactly.
at some point.
So, I mean, if argument with Torts rumors, man, that sounds like a pretty reasonable
Those aren't
thing.
rumors.
Yeah, that's just a matter. It probably happened.
It's fact. Like everyone's had it.
And he was back. He was on the flight and he was skating with the team, but he wasn't playing.
Right.
And so they called up the backup. And then Panarin, they're gonna let Bob walk so they can put all their money into the Panarin basket, into his bread basket, if you will. And just if you haven't seen, a local company, a local vodka distillery, High Bank Vodka, is willing to offer him free vodka for life. And Murray Hill Family Dental is offering him free dentistry. So the two things a hockey player needs: vodka and teeth work, dental work.
I feel like players are covered for dental work. I think the team set them up with all-inclusive medical and dental packages. That's not a selling point.
Imagine if he was such a piece of shit. He's like, well, if I got a sign here, I'm going to use that free dental. I'm not going to give it to an unfortunate, what's the word I'm looking for? Underprivileged. Thank you. Underprivileged family. I'm going to do it all myself. I'm just going to get all new teeth 6 times over because I'm fucking staying in Columbus.
6 different sets of teeth.
Bread man, baby.
Some of them are like steel jaws. Some of them are, gold and jewel encrusted.
Torts is your head coach and you're stuck playing with him. I'm getting gold encrusted teeth and I'm getting them. No question.
That would be a pretty good shit-eating grin, to borrow a phrase. If you just Torts down the bench, just, what were you doing on that play? And you just turn and you just got this big grin on your face with all these Lenny jewels in your teeth. Torts would lose it. His head would explode.
Imagine if it got knocked out. You'd be looking for your gold teeth.
I wouldn't be looking for him. I'd be going to...
That's the Ice Cruise retirement right there.
Yeah, I'd be heading my way to Murray Hill Family Dental the first thing in the morning. And I'll say, hey, Zamboni boys, just go chip the teeth out of the ice. You go down to Cash for Gold. You're welcome. Like, now Panarin, I kind of like him. He's helping everybody out. Everybody's winning.
Be interesting.
That's his way of giving back.
Exactly. You can get it through my busted gold teeth that are stuck to the ice in Columbus.
It'll be interesting to see if Columbus continues to be successful, I'd guess, for the next little bit, because they have a lot of good young players there.
Yeah.
Does Torts stick around, though, if rifts potentially continue to grow? Or do they move out guys that don't buy into his cult and cult of personality? I'm not trying to oversell it, but
Sorry, I'm singing that song.
Anyhow, he's a guy that could lose his job unexpectedly. I could see in the future. The team just set a record for points in a season, and they fired their coach.
But they all re-signed. Funny how that works. It's like Jack Eichel.
Hey, if Trotz becomes available to replace Torts at any point in time, you make that move.
Oh, you go for it. Mm-hmm. There's still some good coaches out there. AV. Actually, I don't know what his... I was just thinking about him today.
He's waiting for a perfect situation. He doesn't need to come back to the league.
Columbus.
Like he's waiting for Hitchcock to leave again?
He said perfect situation, not atomic bomb aftermath. Geeta, come on.
He's not pulling the Babcock where he's like, I need to be the center of attention in the most volatile market in the NHL. And if I succeed, they'll remember me as a god. That's what Babcock did, and it's working.
Hey, they got problems down in
Toronto.
Toronto.
They blew a lead.
Is Nazem Kadri one of them?
No, he doesn't make too much money. Their problem
but
is...
he also doesn't put up too many points.
He knows his role. He knows his role to get to the second round early exits.
I'd be more worried if I was Nylander than Kadri.
Why, he's there for life. This is his team now.
I don't know.
Things don't pick up offensively.
Trade him to Edmonton.
There's probably other teams that will give you something for him and just wash your hands of the situation.
It's starting to kind of look that way, guys.
The real judgment will come next year because missing that much of a season, he was coming in with his hands tied. I mean, people talk about the Matt Sundin Vancouver freak show. Mm-hmm. A big part of that is he shouldn't have sat out half a year. You're never going to be the same guy from Sundin that late in your career. But yeah, if you miss half a year of hockey, it's going to take you a couple months just to get back into playing shape. And then even then you're playing catch up.
So he'll peak at playoff time. And then you'll be eating your words.
That will be the goal. Maybe if they get some defensemen. They were booing Jake Gardner.
Oh, he's going to leave. He's going to get James Van Riemsdyk, and he's going to go get whatever money he wants from a mid-level team because they can't afford him.
Maybe they turn around here and try to move him for some vets on the blue line.
They got to move him for something because Kyle Dubas looks real smart with his nice suits and his good glasses, but I don't think he knows that math calculator in the contract, adder upper, as well as he thinks he knows his other fancy stats. And I just worried that...
Yeah, the Excel spreadsheet does it himself.
Yeah, and I don't think it's doing it. I think there's a mishap in the formula because he thinks he can keep all those guys. I also kind of think that maybe he's thinking that they can get a little hometown discount going. And I don't know if the players feel the same way.
There's different schools of thought. If you're going all in right now and you think you can win in the next couple of years before the salary stuff really starts to blow up.
Right.
But the salary stuff blows up after this season.
Yeah, it's like they've got to push for this year, really.
Yeah, they need to go all in.
And then the goal is you start moving bodies out kind of like Chicago did and get good depth players out of your moves.
When does that collective bargaining agreement end? Next year? After this season or after next season?
After next season.
Okay.
And the NHL is talking real sweet that they don't want to lock out. So we know what that means.
I don't believe them. I'm used to lockouts.
Maybe it'll only be a month and a bit this time.
The lockout version of this podcast would suck. I mean, we'd have a lot of fun, but I mean, like...
By that point, another one of us will be living somewhere else.
Madagascar.
Hey, stranger things have happened.
Let's go into some questions to wrap up the show this week, because we did go long last week, although I had a lot of fun last week. It was a hot show last week.
Hopefully the listeners had fun as well.
We don't know.
This is a question from Yerky, and it was a bit of a stumper. I don't know if you saw this one on Twitter, Paul, but Dave and I were a little stumped by it. So can you coin a punchy term for non-empty net goals? For real goals? Like, can we just call them goals?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I get what people are saying because there are some guys that pad their stats excessively with the empty netters, but
because
a goal is a goal is a goal.
Well, didn't they score 4 empty netters last night, the Canucks?
They scored only 2. But, I mean, we should be coming up with sassy terms that connect to a player who scores a lot of empty net goals. Like, they should call them Eberle's or something, or garbage time goals, but... I mean, a goal is a goal. An empty net goal is a bullshit goal.
I know they're different. goals. But, yeah, I mean, on the stat sheet, the way games go, lots of guys get credit for beating the goalie on
That's the thing. If you win in a shootout, it's still a win.
Yeah.
But it's not a goal.
Yeah. Let's call them padders. Empty netters are padders. Because you're padding your stats.
No.
Paddling the canoe? That's a paddling.
I don't know. There's my answer. Call them goals.
IDKs. Chris Faber, who I was on his podcast talking about the Canucks last week. That's available on iTunes. Mm-hmm. If you had to hire a current NHL player as a positivity coach, who would it be, and how would they brighten your day?
I'm not even going to answer this one.
Why
I'm
not?
just not going to.
How come?
Oh, no, you guys answer it.
Well, it's individual. There's 3 of us.
Yeah, okay.
Positivity coach.
I got mine.
Who?
Jumbo. Joe Thornton's going to come over. He's going to be not wearing a shirt. He's going to be not giving a fuck. And yeah, he's going to teach me about confidence. And he's like, I'm not. Like, the sign says no shirt, no shoes, no service. They're not going to do anything. We're going to walk around, and he's going to, tell me about how he signed his contract on a tractor and how he defeated, how he became ageless, except his knees didn't get the memo. And we're just going to have a lot of fun. He seems like an old school guy that could probably drink a lot of beer. and we're gonna walk around. He's not gonna have a shirt on. He's gonna do all the heavy lifting.
I feel like I'm sort of stealing your idea, but Brent Burns might be a good option. He always seems to be positive spirits.
Yeah.
He got a dinosaur tooth for playing his 1,000th NHL game the other night.
And those, what kind of animals were those?
And if he played in Columbus, you could get them putting
Down at Murray Hill Family Dental.
Gratuit.
Geeta, what about you?
Well, Jason Spezza, who's just a ray of sunshine and positivity, and that guy can't suppress a laugh. And when he laughs, you laugh.
Yeah, that's true.
And he probably should be coaching at this point. I mean, he's Oldie McOlderson over there.
Oldie McOlderson. And I think he'd always look on the bright side of life.
Exactly.
Like you'd be carrying like a cake down the street, and you'd drop it and like upside down, and he was like, I got a lot of money. Let's just go buy another one.
See, this is a guy as a coach would probably buy you ice cream after every loss or win. Just ice cream after all your games.
I feel like they should send Jason Spezza to the upper offices at the Dallas Stars facilities, because there are some folks that could use a little cheering up.
Are you like a therapy dog approach?
No, I just mean like he should sit down. Was it the CFO? No, it was the CEO.
Yeah, something light.
Kites or whatever.
I already forgot the dude's name in Dallas.
That horseshit CEO.
What's really bothering you, boss? Are you having troubles at home?
Do you need some ice cream?
Let's go out. We'll get some ice cream. We'll go for a walk around outside back of the Tasty Freeze.
Oh, golly gee, it's with the Tasty Freeze. Good reference. Well, it's hard to get mad at something when you got some Rocky Road in you.
Now, let me tell you about when I was at the Ottawa Senators.
We had a guy up in the... Oh, I'm starting to have a little deja vu here. That no trade clause just shipped me out of here.
I almost wound up on Long Island during the Charles Wang years under Milbury and Garth Snow. Could have been much worse. Ottawa was a breath of fresh air compared to the island back then. The arena was old. They had asbestos. It was literally a breath of fresh air.
I like all our choices. Josh, the Zamboni guy. Is Goldie here past the trade deadline?
Yes.
I don't think...
I don't know what he's worth. He's one of those guys where I'm like... Yeah, I'm slowly losing faith. I was very much in the camp of like, give him a chance, let him make mistakes. But when he has been playing lately, it didn't notice him once, I don't think, in that Florida game. And that Florida game was not a good game for Florida. They coughed up the puck so many times.
Yeah.
I was sitting in proximity of the Florida Panthers management, and I'm not going to quote anything they said, but they were not happy.
Rhyme.
It was about as vocal as I've heard any box.
Does it
it's just?
Do the words rhyme with a Pacific?
I'm not gonna get no.
A Pacific Division team.
Let's not get into it. But they were frustrated. So it was the type of game where a guy like Goldobin probably should have.
Yeah.
Sean
lit it up.
Should have made his way to some of those pucks. Yeah, I mean, I guess he didn't play a whole lot, so maybe that's part of it.
If he was a new movie that was likely to, make a dent into the Oscar award or the Academy Awards, a star should have been born that night.
He's one of those guys, though. Yeah, I'm not sure if he's worth like anything right now.
I don't know.
Which is why would he be traded at the deadline?
Say,
Who needs a player? Who needs a player that's worth nothing at this? Yeah,
he's probably more valuable to the team as like a long shot project.
Yeah, and they're trying. They've been working that long. It's been a long shot. It's a long con with Goldobin. Right.
Yeah, people were saying the same thing about Jake Virtanen, and now
we love him.
Found his way in as a bottom six forward, and people have forgotten that he was drafted as high as he was. So it's okay. I think Jake's been
playing
great
on a nightly basis.
He hasn't scored in a while, but you notice him. He does little things out there.
But back in October, he made people drink.
Back the kind of October Canucks. Oh my god. God, can I swoon a little more?
Yeah.
Mills fired off a handful of questions here. We'll rattle them off quick. How many points will Kucherov get over under? He's on pace for 136, I imagine.
He'll get all of them?
About 110, I think. But, I mean, nothing stopping.
120, probably. Yeah. I mean, that's sort of where the peak of points have been
$1, Bob.
Good season, really good season.
Sorry, $1, Drew. Is there hope for the Oilers? This week's episode of On the Ring and all the constant badgering and laughing at them. No, there is no hope for this team. They are terrible. There's one good thing about them, and he got the flu and missed the skills competition, and then
everybody missed the skills competition.
And then Oilers fans saw him out in traffic with his girlfriend or significant other, and he wasn't at home sick. So even the Oilers fans are like, well, way to go, Connor.
Because none of you Oilers fans have ever been sick and had to go out to the grocery store or something while you were sick.
They were smiling too much. No hope for that team. You'll need to burn it down, which is
all. Yeah, now if the Oilers fans have turned on McDavid.
Yeah, and which will be the theme for that'll be the theme of On the Rig is "Burn It Down" by Nickelback.
Have there been any jerseys on the ice this year? Now?
I think there were some Philly jerseys this year, but
thrown on the ice.
Yeah. However, the Coyotes 4 points out of the playoffs. It's pretty simple. The Pacific is top heavy, and I think the whole even the Oilers are 3 or 4 points out. It's just
Brad Richardson just ripping it up, leading the team in goals with 11.
Whiskey. It's the whiskey he's drinking.
Yeah.
Just the way we like it. And finally, what's wrong in Orange County? The franchise record 11th straight loss for Rockin' Randy Carlyle and the guys named Ryan. Their record before was, I think, 9 straight losses. Their GM has said that they won't fire Randy Carlyle, which I just kind of doesn't seem to make a lot of sense. They're done.
Well, I mean, they've run their course, and there is a next generation, some players coming up.
There's only one key injury, and that's Corey Perry.
Yeah. I'm just sort of leading to, a lot of people complain that the Sedins needed to move so next players in the Canucks organization could take a step up, even if they could have probably come back this year and played third-line minutes and contributed. Just the whole leadership mantle needs to be passed on. That's probably something that could be said now. The Ducks tried to milk everything they could out of those guys that were the youngsters in 2007. They won a cup.
They were very good for a long time.
Yeah, you might need to move on at this point and allow your Raquels and such move into the forefront and build around them, and they could have a quick turnaround if they do it the right way and they move some vets. But I don't know. I haven't heard those rumors necessarily that their vets are on the way out. I don't know if there's a whole lot of value attached to a Getzlaf
ever since
at this point in his career.
Like last season and this season, they were like, well, let's see what these guys. Let's give them one more chance. And Corey Perry got hurt, Ryan Kessler is playing hurt, and Ryan Getzlaf seems to be not what he used to be. So
and teams don't seem as keen to trade for a Getzlaf, roll the dice, let's load up. I mean, not since the early salary cap years.
Yeah.
If you have a lot of room, maybe you take a flyer on them.
Yeah, I agree. I think that'll wrap it up for this week's podcast, everybody. This episode 2 of On the Rig. Once again, thank our Patreon backers. New backers this week, Andreas Wrestling, $5 backer. We thank you very much. And Schoolin Barracudas. Now, Schoolin is not going to be able to listen to our next segment, which is 5 minutes for paying, because he's only pledging $1. But Andreas Wrestling, they are pledging $5, so they can listen to 5 minutes for paying, which will happen right after this, and all our other bonus content.
Wasn't Schoolin Barracudas a backup with the Penguins about 15 years ago?
Yeah, I'm surprised he can afford even the $1.
Yeah. I was thinking of Peter Skudra.
Oh, yes.
My bad.
So yeah, if you do want to help us out and support the show monetarily, you can do that over at patreon.com/pucksonnet. And like our pal Schoolin and Andreas, you can pledge a couple of bucks. No. Couple of bucks. And you can, once again, make sure you follow us on Twitter at pucksonnetca or pucksnetca. And if you don't want us to give us any money, go rate and review the podcast on Apple Podcasts or on your iTunes store. 5-star review, 5-star rating, positive review. Go like our Instagram page. Go like us on Facebook. And please sign up for the email newsletter. It's a new year. It's 2019, so maybe we need to do another little giveaway on there. Maybe we'll do that. But please go to the website pucksnet.ca and sign up for our email newsletter to get one measly email a week, or do like Paul does and put it in the spam folder.
Well, I don't do it. I'm just saying they could.
Oh, thanks. Because between us gals here, there is a lot of chit-chat throughout the week about, is this going to make the newsletter? Is that going to make the newsletter?
Is there?
Is there?
Oh, yeah.
Who do you chat
With
with?
who?
A lot of people are replying to me after it comes out with their take on the Pucks on Net newsletter. So I sit there on Fridays, which are now a lot freer now, and I just feel like I'm an artist, like an author, and I just craft this comedy
Yeah, with your quill, apparently.
with a quill, and then I take it down to my quill lady, and then she puts it into a internet document. So my Fridays are very busy now. But please go and do that, and make sure, and you haven't yet, and that was about an hour ago, please say goodnight to Dave. He's 3 hours ahead of you. He already knows all the bad trades that have happened in Edmonton, but come on.
He knows what the Canucks have gotten for Goldobin.
Connor McDavid.